low quality, shitty relationships, low quality, superficial relationships, treated as if they're more than that when they are not. Sometimes, too many of us, we got plenty of those kind of relationships that can go on for days, months, years. And we think because there's years behind it, then there's some kind of special quality to it or something special about it. Yeah, maybe, maybe not. Anyways, let's delve into a couple of more True Love Guidelines. True Love Guideline number 3. Doesn't have a competing demeanor and only wants for nothing but things to be better for all involved. To begin, it's important to define what we mean by a non-competing demeanor. This is a trait in a willingness to collaborate and work as a part of a team. Focus on shared success rather than individual achievements, and a non-competing demeanor is being able to set aside the desire for personal gain and prioritize a greater good. In contrast, a competitive demeanor is mainly focused on an individual's desire to win, often at the expense of others. Although it can sometimes be healthy, as in certain games and sports. As for relationships, it most likely leads to negative outcomes such as resentments, envy, and a lack of trust where true love cannot thrive. Why is a non-competing demeanor a necessity for life? One reason is that most challenges of life, whether professional or personal, require collaborative solutions. Another reason why it's so important is that it's a valuable quality to have, because when individuals are willing to set aside egos and collaborate, they achieve more by drawing on each other's strengths and resources to create highly effective solutions. Non-competing demeanor doesn't mean people should be passive or be lacking ambition. It's a strong drive for success while prioritizing the greater good. True Love Guideline number 4. Only listens to understand and has no desire to prove others wrong and themselves right. Demonstrating a genuine interest, listening to different perspectives, and searching for root causes of a problem, the listener can help identify multiple solutions for possible win-win situations. Active listening helps de-escalate tensions when minor conflict tends to spiral out of control. By listening carefully, speakers are heard. This helps to ensure messages are accurately received and any misunderstandings are quickly addressed to prevent miscommunications from becoming larger problems. In making these characteristics a habit, this can greatly influence one's ability to learn about their own biases and avoid excessive strain on relationships, whether it be friendships, family, professional, or romantic. Listening really is an honest attempt to connect perspectives and feelings, even though it may be different from one's own. Because to truly love someone is not to be interested in winning an argument via making them wrong and themselves right. These highlight a fundamental aspect of a healthy relationship that is of a very high quality. Okay, now having said that, looked at those 2 guidelines. The guideline of only listens to understand and has no desire to prove others wrong and themselves right, and doesn't have a competing demeanor and only wants for nothing but things to be better for all involved. And as we mentioned when we started out, superficial relationships, low quality, being treated as if they're something better than they're not because of time and frequency, of those relationships, whether they be daily or weekly. Could be work relationships, acquaintance relationships, people that work in the places that we go to, or whatever. And even sometimes, yes, relationships as in lovers, and sometimes even husbands and wives that should have never actually got married. Now, there are so many things that can be read into this, and not everyone fits into one neat little box. So you can take it with a grain of salt, however you like, and that is the best way to do it, I think, because there's just so many different variables. So, looking at these guidelines we just looked at, too many times I see in my life that I've seen so far, those two guidelines right there, like damn near existent, and therefore, with those not existing, makes the relationships very shallow, very superficial, no depth whatsoever, and that's not connection. That's not quality connection. That is such a weak connection. There's no bond there. The bond that is there is just so little and so weak that it's easily broken, and it doesn't matter. It's like there's nothing invested there, but yet at the same time, it's too easy to think that it's a better quality relationship that's worth spending the time on and the effort on because of how many times it happens during the week or month or year or whatever, and also that length of time. And I honestly believe at this point in my life, stuff like that burns emotional fuel. It burns mental fuel. It burns time. I honestly believe one of the most valuable assets we have is time. Time goes by pretty dang quick. It's like tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Think about it. Just whatever age you're at. Think about back when you was like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and really pick an individual memory. Did you think of one? Or you couldn't think of any right offhand? Anyways, you can go back to it later after the video or something. But think about that. And then look at the age you are now. Does it feel like you honestly had that much time in between then? Time goes by very deceptively. Them days just walk right off the calendar. You can be marking every single day of the year off. You can have the entire year planned day by day. And them days just still walk right off the calendar where it still gets away from you. Marking them off day by day. Have a plan set, schedule set. You start off at the first of each month. Next thing you know, it's the 15th and 16th of that month, and it's like, man, we're already halfway into this month, and it just poof. Shit. So looking back on our lives, it's like the time we spend in superficial, low quality relationships. Is it worth it? Is it worth going into that stuff? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But I knew one context that it's not, and that's to be stuck in a relationship where it's not worth it. And it can happen far more easier, I believe, especially for someone like me with my background. It's too easy to get caught up in a relationship and ignore one major red flag and ignore many micro red flags within that first 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and still keep walking into the relationship. But I know goddamn well it's a no-go, because one single deal breaker is a deal breaker. And that can happen sometimes in a person's relationship or in people's relationships. It may take a year or a few years before that deal breaker actually surfaces. But when it surfaces, a person knows deep down in their innermost being that that is truly not their best friend and their partner. Now, I'm not saying a person needs to be with a person that is their everything. I don't believe that when people say, oh, you need to find a person that's your everything. No, that's too much responsibility. That's too much to ask of anybody. No. And I don't believe people need to get in relationships where it's like a fixer-upper kind of relationship where it's like, well, all relationships need to be worked on, so I can overlook all these little red flags and this one big red flag that we blatantly ignored and hope for the best and think we're going to fix the person or change the person through time. It's not how it works. We have the ability to change ourselves. We can influence other people, but when it comes to relationships, as in lovers, I've never seen nobody be able to fix anybody or change anybody. And the thing about relationships, when it's like that, it's like buying a used car that needs a lot of work on it and paying for it at full price and having to pay full price insurance. To me, that's what relationships are. And even the point of where I'm at in my life, I know I got plenty of work to be worked on in my character, in my heart, to be the kind of man I want to be, the kind of fairly reasonable, high quality man that I want to be. And that's why I'm not going out with anybody right now, because I'm not going to ask any decent woman of quality to pay full price for something that is not full quality for that full price. Once I get to a point where I am, then I will. But having said that, most of us don't do that. We just jump from one to the next, to the next, to the next, ignoring all the red flags and ignoring that one red flag that was a deal breaker in the early months or in that first year. And I think the reason for that is most people don't clarify their red flags and green flags. It's not written out. It's not in a handbook. It's not in something they've written in a relationship folder. And they're journaling. I've heard it said that that is probably one of the most important decisions we make in our life is who we marry. And I would say, yeah, it is one of the most important decisions we could make in our life, because we're bonded to that person, because a true marriage does not end. Once you get married, that's it. But the good thing is that if it has to end and it has to lead to a divorce, then just rest assured it's okay. Then that was not your one true marriage, and therefore it's not ruined. Choices, choices, choices. Decisions, decisions, decisions. Time's up. That's 15 minutes. That's a wrap. Have a good one. See you in the funny papers.